Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar this morning. Today, our topic is how to manage your SOLIDWORKS data on the cloud. To do this, we're going to explore why would you want to manage your data? Why would you want to do it on the cloud? And then we're going to show you our solution to help our customers do this on the cloud for SOLIDWORKS users. Welcome to today's session once again. My name is Joelle Guenette, and I'm the Territory Manager for Eastern Canada. I have with me Michel Cloutier, who's a solutions consultant, and I will introduce him in just a bit when it's time for him to take over. So if this is your first time joining one of these calls and or your first time on GoToWebinar, just a quick summary of how to use the tool. You have a bar on your right-hand side, most likely that looks like what you're seeing on the slide here. If you use the orange arrow, you can slide it away so that you can see full screen. You can also put this in full screen so that you see everything. You have a choice of following the audio through your computer or through a phone if for some reason it's not coming through on your computer properly or at all. If you click on the phone option, it will give you the phone number, the access codes, everything. Just be mindful that it may be a long distance call for you with obviously fees that come along with that depending on your package. There's a document that you can download at any time during the sessions, so feel free to do so whenever. And then our favorite section, which is the questions section. So if you have any questions as we're going through this material, please don't hesitate and put them in there. And if we have time at the end, we will definitely consult them. If we don't, no worries. We will get back to you after and make sure that your questions are answered. All right, so let's jump into our topic today. I mentioned earlier we talk about actually, before I jump into that, if you joined us last month for the session on SOLIDWORKS and the cloud solutions that are offered for SOLIDWORKS users, you would have seen this slide and this information, how we talked about having solutions for management, design, simulation, manufacturing. We gave you a brief summary of what these look like. We also mentioned that we had solutions for marketing, for collaboration, but we didn't dive into those. We're going to focus today on management being one of those main topics, and we're going to continue throughout the year on the other ones to keep bringing you information on different solutions that are out there for you as a SOLIDWORKS user. So data management is our focus today. Let's start with why data management, right? Why do you need data management at all? I would say the first reason would be productivity. And some people don't see it as productivity because they say, well, it's going to add some steps. It's going to add work to what we do. In effect, if you're not using a formalized data management solution today, your team, yourself, are probably spending a lot of time looking for things. Now, if you're alone in your company, that's different. But if you're sharing with others and you're looking for a project that may have been done in the past so that you can reuse, whatever reason it may be, you're looking for a part because you think it may have already been done, you're searching, you're looking for things. And if it's not properly managed, properly documented, it's going to take you a long time to find this. So this is time spent, which affects productivity. Now, if you're not finding this part, guess what you're doing? You're duplicating it, or somebody in your team is duplicating parts. And then not only is it the time for doing the part, but then you have to manage the part. And then you're trying to figure out these parts that are pretty much identical or exactly identical, used in different projects. Which one was where? Which one do we keep? Which one do we manage? It becomes a management nightmare in effect. So productivity is the first main reason why companies adopt formal data management solutions. The next one is to avoid errors, because a lot of things are done in a company that will lead to errors. So one is if things are not secure properly, you could overwrite somebody else's work. You could modify somebody else's work and then have 2, 3 versions of the same part. Again, which one is used in the assembly and in this project and the other project? Where are we, right? So you're going to end up overwriting each other. You could end up manufacturing the wrong part because the management of files to the manufacturing floor is not organized and secure. And of course, you could do some transcription errors. So we take information from one tool and then we transcribe it into another very manually. This is done day in, day out in many of the companies that we work with. And every time you say manual, it opens up the door to errors. Unfortunately, that's the nature of things. So, and these are errors that you cannot afford, and time that you shouldn't be wasting on things that could be automated and could be done for you. The last reason is security in general, security of your data. Everything that's generated in your company is your company's information. This is what makes you different, makes you great, makes you competitive. This is your intellectual property. And you want to make sure that not only is it captured, but that it's secured and that it's easily reusable. So that if for some reason you have somebody who has a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, leaves the company, that information, that data is within your company walls and your company vault, so that it can be reused by others and continue on your company legacy. So these are some of the reasons why data management in general. Now, why would you want to use cloud data management? What's the attraction there? What's the difference there? The first one is accessibility, mobility, whatever you want to call it, of your data. And this is the advantage of cloud. So today, and not just today, but obviously for the last 15, 16 months, we've all experienced different scenarios where working in the office has not been an option, connecting to the network has not been an option, and customers have had to resort to other ways of connecting to their data. And often these ways to be secure include a VPN, which adds a layer of cost to your company, but obviously adds to the bottleneck of accessing the data. And then only from certain points to other points. With data management on the cloud, your connection is the internet. As long as you have the internet, you may have a phone, a tablet, doesn't matter, you have access to the data. Now, there's data, and then there's data, intelligent data, and then you need an actual intelligent tool so that you can see the data and not just see that there's a file that exists. So these are different things, but data mobility is definitely a key one. The other reason that you would want to go for cloud management is to reduce or eliminate the IT requirements in your company. And I'm not talking about the people necessarily, I'm talking about hardware and software primarily, right? So servers is a choice, right? Do you want to invest in more servers, bigger servers, because the amount of data that companies produce today is astronomical and it just keeps growing. You add simulation to what you're doing because you should be verifying that and validating that your product is properly designed. Then there's more files, right? So more things to manage. So server, cloud, right? Where somebody else manages the servers for you. That's the nice part of it. And then there's software. If you're talking data management as we are today, then SQL is often one of the bases for it and something that your company that needs to purchase needs to manage. So it adds to the complexity. The other thing is that when you're working on cloud or with cloud tools, you're always up to date, right? So, and this is where there's a distinction between just putting data in the cloud, but actually using a cloud tool, right? Because a cloud tool will enable you to be up to date all the time. Therefore, you eliminate any of the upgrades that are needed. So all the downtime that would incur when you're doing these upgrades, having to plan it, having to coordinate, either with different groups to make sure that you're all doing it at the same time, maybe with other companies that you're working with, your suppliers or people you are supplying, to make sure you're all on the same version of tools. There's all of this complexity. When you're on cloud solutions, you're all on the same platform, always up to date. And you're always benefiting from the latest innovations. They come to you as things get updated, happens in the background. It's great, but you have access to new functionality. I alluded to the example a month ago when we did the summary of a car, right? If you're owning a car, it's probably because you're going to keep it for a long time, meaning that the technology you have is the technology you have. If you're leasing a car, then you get to change more regularly, and therefore you get to take advantage of new technology. And there happens to be a whole lot happening in the car industry and technology, electronics. If you look at 20 years ago to today, it's a world apart. So it's the same thing with these types of technology. Things evolve very quickly, and you can benefit from all that. So that's the summary. Why data management? Why cloud data management? Now let's see what we have to offer. Let's see what we're talking about. I'm going to pass this over to Michel Cloutier. He is our solutions consultant. He's been with SOLIDWORKS, with SO Systems for 16 years now, and has seen all the solutions that we have, and he's presenting this one today with the advantages how it's going to work, what it's going to look like for you, the SolidWorks user, and I will come back at the end to wrap this up. Over to you, Michel.
Great. Well, thank you, Joelle, and welcome everyone to our webinar. So, like Joelle mentioned, today we're talking about data management and data management on the cloud. And the role or the tool we're going to explore is called Collaborative Designer for SolidWorks. And I'm going to do this live today, and I'll show you what we'll be doing together. So what we'll be doing, first of all, we'll be working on this assembly. As you can see, it's for a prosthesis of a leg. And first of all, we're going to see how we can actually connect the SolidWorks we know and love that runs on our Windows PC, and how to connect that to the cloud. And we're going to save new files to the cloud. So some of that assembly is completed. Most of that assembly is completed. But I've got to save new components, new design to the cloud. So we're going to see how we're going to do that. Then we're going to talk a little bit about revision management, and really the term of data management. We're not just with the tool, with the platform, with the cloud, we're not just saving files to the cloud. Like there's many other tools around that can do that. We're actually managing these tools, and we're going to talk about how we do that with revision and maturity state. Basically, what is the maturity of the part? Is it in work? We're working on it. Is it frozen? We're kind of waiting for approval. If it is approved and released when it's going into manufacturing, so we got to put some safeguards onto those files so that people don't come in and change whatever is being manufactured on the floor. And then the last thing we're going to do is talk about a little bit about collaboration. Again, because it's cloud-based, collaboration comes with the tool. It's very easy, so we can create some message boards, exchange on ideas, and things like that. So let's get to it. Let's talk about how we start connecting SolidWorks to the cloud. And actually, before I jump into SolidWorks, I'm actually going to jump. Let me turn off my webcam real quick to our message board. So I created a message board for the team for this project, and here we can navigate through that message board. You see some of my colleagues here commented on on this project. So this is a great way to simply have, like I said, just a running message board rather than bouncing emails around. But here is actually what is of interest today. And that's, technically this is what we're going to be doing. So here I got my colleague Tandy, actually, right through the cloud. I could actually call him or have a video call with him or even do a screen capture session with him. But he posted a little while ago a problem that he's highlighting in this picture here. So you see down the bottom, there's too much deflection in this pin, and he wants me to validate the design on top. And here I got a 3D view of this model. Let's zoom in. So here's the first section that we're gonna do some work in. So you see this pin here, that's where we got too much deflection. We need to work on that. And then if we move on top and rotate that a little bit, you'll notice that we got two positions, and that's going to change the cam action. So we need to validate this is going to be good to go. So let's jump into SolidWorks and let's start doing that right now. So now I'm in SolidWorks. We can see our assembly inside of SolidWorks, good old SolidWorks desktop where we know and love. We've been using for years now. Probably most of you have been using for years. I'm going to open up this assembly. And when I zoom over here, we can see this is the old design. So I'm simply going to start by deleting some of the files I don't need here. So simply go ahead and Windows select these pin, hit delete, take this part out, delete that as well. Let me just turn off my shaded mode so we can see that better. So we can see now this chalk is kind of free to float. Now this is the new part I need to design and put in. Now, because we're really talking about data management and not design, I've already designed the part, so I'm simply going to go ahead and open it. And I'm going to open it from my local drive, and I've got a shortcut here. And you see, this is the part and the drawing. I got both files here. And as you notice, these are saved locally. They're not saved on the cloud or anything like that just yet. Let's just assume I've kind of just created those. So I'll open them. And this is actually going to be the first step we are going to do with regards to cloud is I need to save that to my cloud, to the cloud. How do we do that? It's actually fairly simple. You'll notice that right inside of SOLIDWORKS, I got a little pop-up menu here, and that's going to tell me whether these files are already saved on the cloud or not. And this is really the connection to the cloud. So you see here, I got the, let's just pin that for a sec. I got my drawing here, I got my part. If I hover over these icons, you'll notice that it says file has not yet been saved to the cloud. So how do I go about saving that? Well, it's really very easy. I just hit the save button. This is going to be copied to my local workspace. And after that's done, it's going to save it to the cloud. And here I could also create some bookmarks. So bookmarks are just a way to find stuff easier. So we'll talk about that later. But I have a project where I'm sharing some of those bookmarks with my colleagues. And bookmarks are, well, you know bookmarks by now. If you've been using a browser, you probably have your own bookmarks. So I'm going to bookmark this so I can find it. In my derived output, I can check this option to also create a PDF file if I need a PDF for my drawing. So that's a common question. And then I hit save, and at this stage, that's when the files are being saved to the platform, to the cloud. So it takes a couple seconds because I did enable the option to create the PDF file. But fairly quickly, all of this data is now going up to the cloud. What that means is that all of my colleagues that have access to my space where I'm saving this, they now can see, they can download, they can start working. And now I got this little check mark saying, you know what, this is good to go and save to the cloud, right? So I can close this now and simply keep the part open because I'm going to need that to continue my work. And talking about continuing my work, that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's jump into my assembly and start, basically working inside of SOLIDWORKS just like I'm used to. So this is really not connecting SOLIDWORKS to the cloud doesn't change in any way how you work within SOLIDWORKS. I want to make this part to this assembly, a simple drag and drop, and if you pick it from the edge, it's even going to snap in place. I can now close the part. I don't really need that. Let's expand that to continue our work. So I need to kind of complete my mating here. So again, using my smart mates, control drag to make it concentric here. That's good. Now I'm going to need a bolt to connect my chock to this new part, to the lower bracket. Now I know this part, I have a bolt somewhere on the cloud. How do I find it? Well, again, going back into my panel, I can simply start searching. So you see here the history of searches. So I need a shoulder screw. So I'm simply going to start by typing in shoulder. And very quickly, I got 600 results. So obviously, these are all the different sizes available that I've saved on the platform. So I need to filter that down a little bit further. So I know this is a M6, so I'm going to simply type M6 25, and now I'm filtering down to the shoulder screw M6 25 millimeters long. And I've got two types here with the regular head and a short profile, a low profile head. I need the regular one, a simple drag and drop. So when you need to find something, you just search it on the cloud. You need to add it to your SOLIDWORKS assembly, you just drag and drop. Things that you've been doing for years inside of SOLIDWORKS, it's just a little different process. So now that I've got this inside of my assembly, I can simply smart mate it in place using the Alt drag tab to invert the location. So very quickly, this is positioned correctly. Control select these two to make them concentric. There we go, that was quick. Now, one thing I do realize is I'm going to need a bigger opening for this hole here so I can actually put the screw in place. So I'm going to double click on this hole diameter and change the diameter to, let's double it to 16 millimeters and rebuild, see what this does. That looks good. Click OK to that. And now I've basically kind of completed my design. So as you can see, working on the cloud is really, for a SOLIDWORKS user, connecting SOLIDWORKS to the cloud. First of all, it's very transparent. Like, it doesn't change the way you work inside of SOLIDWORKS. You just have that little panel that gives you the status of your cloud connection and if their files are saved to the cloud. If you need to search and find something from the cloud, you use the same panel, you search it from there. So it's very transparent to the SOLIDWORKS user. The other benefit is that there's no IT infrastructure. I only need to be connected to the internet. That's all I need. So as long as you're connected to the internet, you can still work, you're good to go. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is revision management. And as you'll see, I didn't really highlight it there, but I didn't save my assembly. I'll show you why. But because this assembly right now is in a state called released, so we're actually working under the assumption that we're building this assembly and we need a new revision and we need to control that. And we're going to talk a little bit about revision management at this stage. So let's go back inside of SOLIDWORKS and see what we can do when we talk about managing our revisions. So if I expand this panel, and I'll go back to my session here, and actually I'll expand that a little bit further, you're going to see that a lot of these designs are in, well, all of them are in a released state. What does that mean? So basically that means they're locked up for any type of modifications. So what do I need to do? Well, I would need to create a new revision. Now, before we do that, we're actually going to do them on the fly. There's multiple ways of doing our revisions, but one thing I forgot to do earlier is actually to verify the second position of this bolt here. So we'll do that. We're simply going to go ahead and select this mate here and change the mate location. So I'm going to say, no, I don't want this bolt to be going into this hole. I want it to go into that hole. And by doing that, I can double check to see if everything's good. So let's just pop a section view real quick. And very quickly, we realize there's an interference here. So I could have used interference detection. I could have used collision detection as well, because if I didn't show it, but this actually moves, and that's really the implication the changing this hole from one position to the other has. So basically I need to do a change on this part here to give it some more room. So I do have a angle dimension here that I'm going to update. Now I'm doing this change here, and that really, first of all, that fixes my collision, but I still need to, first of all, I need to find if I do have a drawing for this part, and then we'll need to talk about, again, how to manage those revisions. So first of all, to find the drawing for this part, what's kind of neat with the connector that we see on the right here, first of all, we do see there's a little icon saying I've modified this file, but I can also directly from here find all my where used. So where am I using this part? Is this part in a drawing? Is it in another assembly? Because before I commit to create a new revision, I need to know about this. So first of all, I can explore the parent. So right now there's only one parent, meaning this part is used in only in the assembly I'm working in. So if I do a revision, I know only this assembly is going to be affected, but I can also explore if I've created a drawing. So now, knowing that I'm making a change, I'm gonna make a new revision, I need to update this drawing. So let's go ahead and simply open it. I don't need to know where this drawing is. I don't need to go ahead and do a search and find it. I can simply directly open it right from my panel here. And very quickly, we see that this drawing has been updated. You see the new dimension highlighted in orange because it just changed from 5 to 12. Now I need to save that, save this new revision. But like I said earlier, these files, if I try to save them right now, you see I got a status indicator saying that it's modified, but I can't save them because they are in a release state. And even if I try to override, the system would prevent me. Now, what I can do is actually say, well, you know what, this is going to be a new revision anyhow, and I'm going to put a comment, and I'm going to say, well, I'm going to remove the, changes so I can remove the clash or the interference. And now I can go ahead and commit to saving this under a new revision. So as you see, you're seeing me do this. I'm saving this new part and drawing, saving it under a new revision, and you'll see the status. Now this revision, oops, sorry, mistyped. But this new revision now is under B1. So I've created this new revision. I can now close this drawing and go back to my assembly. And you'll even notice that inside my assembly, we've replaced this part with the new B1. That's right there, and it's up to date. It's the green check mark saying that's the latest version. But I still need to do that for the whole assembly. And by the way, that assembly probably has a drawing itself, right? So let's go ahead and find the drawing for that assembly. Same process I've done before. I've got the assembly here. I can expand my CAD dependency and see the drawing. Let's go ahead and open the drawing to update it as well. I'll say open to that. Once it's opened, we can collapse. Oops. Once it's open, we can simply collapse this. You notice that I got a exploded view, and it's not really up to date. Now I could go back in my assembly and update it. So I won't do that here. Really, that's just some design work that needs to be done. But you get the idea. So I got this new drawing, and again, I need now to save everything and commit everything to the changes. So again, I'm simply going to, from my panel here, I'm going to say I want to save everything. But again, you're going to see that some of these files are in a released state. So I can't overwrite something that is in a released state because there's basically a lock on it. But what I can do is actually create a new revision for the files I'm modifying. Now, these revisions, I could have actually created those revisions beforehand and start working on the new B1. I've decided to make those revisions on the fly. And obviously, there's also the idea of right management. So I do have the right to create revisions, other team members in my team might not be able to create new revision. Maybe only a power user or engineering manager can create revisions. So now I simply go ahead, I want to create new revisions for the assembly drawing, the assembly and the assembly drawing. But remember that we've modified the side plate with the hole on the side. So that's going to need a new revision and the subassembly in which this side plate is located as well. So now that I've created everything and mentioned everything that's good to go, what do I need to do? I'll simply put a comment, and I say I replaced the lower bracket, and what did I do as well? Removed clash, and I think we're good to go. So once I've done this, I can now save that under a new revision on the platform as it's doing, and you've seen me done it before. Now we're saving back to the cloud, and we'll see after that what that means, and you'll see all of these check marks kind of turn green now after it's been saved and updated. So we can just simply let that go. So basically, when we talk about revision management, this is really some of the idea behind the revision management. So you saw me work with some of the files were released, and basically when they're released, there's a lock preventing me to do any changes by mistake on them, because what release means is we're actually making it. So you can't change something you're making, but you can create new revisions. That does happen when you need to do that. So that ensures a couple of things. First of all, it ensures data security. So preventing you from making changes on stuff you're not supposed to change because, again, in our scenario, they're in production. And then there's the whole idea of controlling the access of documentation and who can do modifications on what. Again, I mentioned it before, but I have the right to create new revisions on some of these documents, but someone else on my team, maybe a junior designer, junior engineer, can work in files that are in work, but if they're released, he won't have access to create new revisions, although I could create revisions for him and assign him the work if I wanted to. Now, the next step I want to talk about is collaboration, because since everything is saved on the platform, saved on the cloud, that opens up a lot of things. First of all, it opens up for collaboration. You saw earlier the message board, so I can actually post some comment and images back to that message board. We'll see how we do that. But also, you can actually work with the data once it's saved on the platform without requiring SOLIDWORKS. So let's go ahead and do that. First of all, everything, let's just double check. Everything in SOLIDWORKS is saved. You see the status indicator, everything's green. So really, I'm gonna leave SOLIDWORKS for now, and I'm actually going to flip to Google Chrome, which is going to be my access to my data on the cloud. So let's just refresh our page. Now, again, the beauty of this tool is that since everything is saved on the cloud, everything is accessible simply by a browser. So you see where here we had our assembly. I can expand my assembly. Now that's the assembly, my Moto knee and VF2 foot. That's my assembly under the A1 revision. I've made changes to the Moto knee. If I drag this over here, you'll see the earlier revision, which is the initial revision. That's my A1. That's how we started with. Now I want to see the new revision, the A2. Even better, I want to compare the A1 with the A2. And that's one of the benefits about having these tools, is that now we can go in and do things like this. So I want to compare this, my first A1, with the revision I just created, that's B2. So I'm going to say, yeah, let's go ahead and compare these two side by side. So I'm going to launch the compare tool. And what's that's going to do? It's going to give me a new window split in half. On the left, what we're going to see is the actual structure of the assembly. And on the right, we're going to see a preview of the design, the overlay of the design, right? So like I said, on the left is column 1 is my revision A, column B, the second column is my revision B, and then you see the overlay here on the side here that I can still rotate and view around. Now you'll notice I got some filters on top: revision, moved, identical. So first of all, I want to hide everything that's identical. I just click on the check mark. Everything identical, instantly hidden from both column and view. I also want to hide everything that moved. If it moved, it's the same part, it's just in another position. Again, I filter out. Let's say I just want to filter what's been added or removed, and that's what's been added or removed in a color code. So you see the color overlay, and again, I can filter, okay, that's my revision B, and that was my revision A. And now I can overlay these two on top of one another. Let's say I just want to filter out what's been revisioned. So again, I can simply say, okay, just show me only the parts that have a new revision for. So again, I now have the side plate, and remember we have this side plate because we did a change on the hole right here, right? If we zoom in, so that, and we can clearly see that with the color overlay. But I also did a change on the part on top. So again, here we can see with the color overlay very clearly what's been changed in this part, because we had to move it. First of all, we had to move it, but we changed the angle as well, right? So if you remember, we created a revision for that. Now, what's kind of neat here is that we can also export all this information. So I don't want to export what's identical or moved, but I could actually create an Excel spreadsheet and share that spreadsheet with colleagues, maybe in purchasing, and tell them, hey, we need to buy these new components, or we need to, start, we have revisions on these files, etc. So very nicely here, I can actually view all of that information. Now I can also grab the, start playing with the maturity state as well. What I mean by that is, remember, we had the moto knee that we created here, and the moto knee is currently released, but this design here is in work. So I could actually move it to a frozen state because I don't want any changes done on this assembly until we review it to make sure it's okay. If I want to view this assembly, whoops, I went a little bit too small there. But if I want to view the revision 2, I can simply drag it into my viewer, and here's my revision 2 with the new bracket on the bottom here, right? So we can highlight that. You'll notice that, yeah, we can highlight, directly on the screen. So maybe I want to create a, take a screen capture of this. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and do a screen save. And I'm going to simply save it in my downloads folder. Click over here, replace whatever's there. And maybe I want to post this back to my message board and say, I've done the change. So again, going back to my community, I can go in my message board and basically reply to my colleague Tandy and tell him, hey, change the lower bracket for this new design. And to that, I could simply drag and drop my image and basically send that comment into the message board very quickly. So now everyone in my team can go in this message board. they can see my comment, they can actually view the image, that's the screenshot. So really that's kind of the power with the tool, is that you can go in and start working and really truly collaborating, enhancing your collaboration on the platform. So you'll notice it's not just like, today we're really talking about, SOLIDWORKS data management for engineering, but it can be so much more than that. Like the message board, anyone on the company could be in there that's involved in the project, whether they're in engineering or they're not, and they can comment, they can share ideas. You saw me post an image, but so if you got people in purchasing and in after sales, warranty claims, you can post images of something that breaks down so the engineering team sees what's happening. So it's really an enterprise platform. And also, because I'm taking my SOLIDWORKS data and saving it to the cloud, now that data is accessible from everywhere. I can review it on a simple iPad or Chromebook. I don't need SOLIDWORKS to open that design. It opens in a browser. And I don't need, if I need to work from home, I just need to bring the computer home with me. I don't need to pack and go data and save data locally or whatever. Once I'm home, I just need to connect to the internet and start working, and I'm good to go. So really, what we wanted to do today, Joel and I, is really give you an overview. First, how do we connect SOLIDWORKS, the good old SOLIDWORKS running on your Windows PC, how we connect that to the cloud. It's really, first of all, you got to understand it's really transparent for the user. There's a little panel, but if I would not have told you that those files were saved to the cloud, you probably would never have noticed, right? It's because I actually told you what was happening in the back end that you knew. But the benefit there is that there's no IT involved. I just need internet and we're done. Revision management, where you can control who can change what on those files, who has the right to create new revisions, and who can approve those revisions. You can freeze them pending, like it's like a pending approval if you want. So you do control the modifications you make, or who can make modifications. And then the whole idea of collaboration. It's, like I said, it's a enterprise platform. Today we're really kind of focusing on engineering, but anyone can be on the platform and share in the message board and comment and put some ideas there. And also the data mobility, the ability to have access to your data simply by connecting to the internet. So with that, I think I'm gonna get Joel to wrap up things. I'll look quickly at the questions what we got.
All right. Great information as always, Michelle, and you are right. It's saving. We're not quite sure where you're saving. We just know you're saving. So whether it's cloud or local, it kind of becomes transparent as we go. Were there any questions asked during the session?
Yeah, well, one question, I think I touched on it. When you save your drawings to the platform, you do have the option to create a PDF file for that drawing. So a lot of people want to use that to share externally. So
yep.
That's done automatically. Another question is, so I'm showing it inside of SOLIDWORKS. What about DraftSight or AutoCAD or even other CAD tools? We do have integration with pretty much all the major CAD tools around. So if some of your company in other departments, they're working maybe in AutoCAD or DraftSight, they will have a similar type of connector to save it to the platform in a similar fashion. But we do have those connectors for CATIA V5, for PTC Pro, for Inventor. So we can support multiple CAD tools. It's not just SolidWorks. So, but yeah.
That's good. All right, great questions. And as you know, as we know, once you've had a chance to digest this information, more questions will come up, more thoughts, more, I wonder what. And so please be sure to jot those down. So feel free to email them to us if you want, but of course the reseller that you work with will contact you just to see if you have any more of those questions and see further with you how this can work for your company and what this would look like. So please take the time to explore that with them so that you have a better understanding. And we will. This, of course, is recorded as with all of our sessions. It will be on our go-to stage shortly so that you can see it again if you need to. You can share it with others as well. There's no limit on that. They just need to register to view it by putting their name and their email address. That's all that's required. And we will be back possibly later in the summer when everybody starts coming back from vacations to explore further in the solutions that are offered for our SOLIDWORKS users, but in the cloud. So we thank you for joining us today. And again, don't forget to explore. If you want to know more, your resellers are there for you and will help you with that. Michelle, thanks for all this great information,
Thank you,
and
everyone.
we'll catch you all in the next webinar. Bye for now.
Thank you, everyone. Ciao.